Welcome to my channel. This is JC Rock and Metal Reviews. My name is John. Today I have a really big ranking for you. It is the ranking of all of the Jethro Tull albums. I have 21 albums. I will be including the Zealot Gene. I'm not including the Christmas album or any other EPs, live albums, any Ian Anderson solo albums or anything like that. Just will be focusing on 21 studio albums. That is it. I will be doing this in a new format that I usually don't do with ranking videos, which will be where I will be off screen, where you hear my audio. This will give me a little more freedom to, put up the album covers. I can put up some more text and, make the video a little easier to kind of follow along. I'm going to be trying this new style. Please let me know in the comments section if you do like this new style. Anyway, I'm going to jump right into it. Jethro Tull is one of my favorite bands. I have been listening to them since I've been very young. So let's get right into it. Coming in at number 21 is Under Wraps from the year 1984. This is an album that has a sound that is very typical of what was popular in the early 80s, a very electronic new wave sound. They tried to keep some of their style with the flute playing, but it does sound a lot like a new wave album. The first song, Lap of Luxury, is not too bad. It's kind of catchy. But after that, the songs do sound like something I guess you would hear on like a Revenge of the Nerds soundtrack or something like that, or a typical new wave band that plays heavily electronic music. For that reason, I have it at the bottom. It's not good, even though I think Lap of Luxury is a decent song. Coming in at number 20 is Rock Island from 1989. This is the follow-up to 1987's Crest of a Knave, and it followed with that classic sound, kind of incorporated more elements of 80s hard rock. The problem with this album is that I couldn't really find anything on the album that really stands out. The songs are okay, but I don't know. I don't really remember them after I listened to them. The lead single is called Kissing Willie. It's an okay song, but not really memorable. The last song on the album, Strange Avenues, did have some parts that I liked. They were kind of like slow building, had that like theatrical quality, but in the end, it's not a very strong album. Coming in at number 19, I have Catfish Rising from 1991. This is an album that it does incorporate some like blues rock into their sound. It's a long album. It kind of came out at a time when, a lot of bands were putting out stuff on CD and they wanted to maximize the capacity. So it's, I think, a little over an hour. Now, the album's not bad, but like rock album, it doesn't really have many songs that stand out. One song I like is called Occasional Demons. It has a cool blues rock riff, and it's a fairly catchy song. And the final song called Still Loving You Tonight, it has like a bluesy guitar playing with like a slight Latin flavor to it. I like that one, but otherwise I did think that this album did have a lot of filler on it. Coming in at number 18 is J-Tull Dot Com. This is their last album of new material before the Zealot Gene. It was released in 1999. This one continues with their sound they were doing at a time, kind of combining like Eastern music with their classic sound. This is not the only album, they played the style, but I did feel the songs were not very memorable on this one. Again, the song that stands out for me is Hunt by Numbers. It kind of has a very heavy, almost like a Black Sabbath-y riff mixed with their signature Jethro Tull sound. And another heavy song is called El Nino, which did have some hints of new metal. I think that might have been about some kind of like storm that was around that time. And it did have some like cheesy stuff, kind of like Ian Anderson like rapping on Hot Mango Flush. So this one is not that bad, but it just did have some of its moments. Coming in at number 17 is Crest of a Knave from 1987. Now, the band that released this album, they were on a hiatus for some time. Ian Anderson was going through some health problems. I guess they called it kind of like a comeback album, and they did go in a harder rock direction. Now, this one did win a Grammy Award for the best hard rock and metal performance in 1989. I wouldn't consider it a metal album. I do think it does have, a little harder edge to it, but it has some pretty decent songs. Steel Monkey, I like that one. It's fun. It's catchy. Farm on the Freeway, that's a pretty decent song. The final song, Part of the Machine, does bring back that like classic style, but I guess in general, this is maybe just like an okay album. Coming in at number 16 is Roots to Branches from 1995. And I think this is the best album like from their later period. It has like that classic like Jethro Tull sound with progressive rock and folk rock influences. They also incorporate elements of like Arabic and Indian music. And like I said, it's the best album from their later period, barring the new one. My favorite song and one of my favorite like Jethro Tull songs called At Last Forever. It's an 8-minute song. It has a sound similar to the early 70s, just very well written, a very beautiful song. I actually recommend that you look it up to stream. Definitely a great song. At number 15, I have The Broadsword and the Beast. This is the second album where they did incorporate that like synthesizers and electronic sound, but I think they did this pretty well. It has some decent songs. Beastie is a good album opener. Then on the second side, Broadsword, that's the opener of side two. Yeah, I like the sound of that song. It has like an epic sound. The album has a good balance of electronic elements and a classic Jethro Tull style. Like I was saying before with Under Wraps, the problem was they went too much in that new wave direction, but I think with this one that it does have like a nice balance. Kind of has that like maybe like that Alan Parsons Project kind of sound a little bit at times. So that's why I have it here at number 15. At number 14, I have the album Stormwatch from 1979. In the late 70s, Jethro Tull released a trilogy of folk rock albums, and this was the last of those. The album has a classic sound. The song North Sea Oil has a classic flute sound with some cool rock and bass riffs. Some Things on the Move, kind of heavy blues rock and psychedelic rock. I like that one. I like the guitar tone on this song and how like the flute is incorporated into it. Old Ghosts, that has like a slow building sound, some heavy guitars, kind of goes along with Ian Anderson's flute playing. So this album is okay. I think the albums that come after this are like the really good ones. Coming in at number 13 is A from 1980. This is their first album to incorporate like electronic sounds, but they did it like very well. The songwriting is very well, and the electronics like did fit their sound. So the result was a Jethro Tull album that does have like some progressive rock elements, and like I said with Broadsword and the Beast, it does kind of have like a sound similar to like maybe like Alan Parsons Project, but with that signature Jethro Tull sound. Opening song Crossfire opens with an electronic piano, cool bass line. The chorus, they incorporate guitars and flutes, and the electronic elements never like overpower like the band's instruments. Protect and Survive, that's another one I liked, has some fast rhythms. Slows down like in the first verse with the electronic elements, that adding to the rhythm section. At number 12, I have Too Young to Rock and Roll and Too Young to Die from 1976. This one has like a variety of different types of songs, has some like acoustic stuff, some harder rockers. Quiz Kid, I like that one a lot, has some acoustic rock, some electric guitars, and like a progressive rock sound. The title track, it's a fun song, it's a progressive rock song, keyboards, acoustic guitars. They have a pretty cool like music video for that one. And From a Deadbeat to an Old Greaser is a very laid back song with acoustic guitars and piano. So this is a decent song like from the decent album from the mid 70s. And at number 11, I have the Zealot Gene from 2022. This one just came out. I do have a full review of this. I will link it at the end card of this video. My favorite songs are Mrs. Tibbetts, the Zealot Gene, Shoshana Sleeping. This album is a return to their classic sound, a really nice balance of acoustic ballads and harder rocking songs. So on this album, the band does sound the best that they have in years. Ian Anderson is still able to write some really great songs, and this was like a really great comeback album for them. At number 10, I have Heavy Horses. This was released in 1978. This was part of their folk rock trilogy in the late 70s. It's a good album. Nice mix of different styles in this one. One of my favorite songs is Moths, kind of folk rock sound accompanied with the acoustic guitars and Ian Anderson's flute playing. Journeyman has a cool funky bass line and cool guitar riffs. The title track is a longer progressive rock song with folk rock sound and has the softer verse, the heavier chorus. This is the second best of that trilogy I was talking about. And at number 10. Coming in at number 9 is This Was from 1968. This This is their debut album, and their first few albums, they did have more of like a blues rock sound. Ian Anderson still played flute, but I do enjoy this album a lot. My Sunday Feeling, it's a blues rocker, a very good song. Beggar's Farm, that has like a southern rock sound. It reminded me a little of like that like early ZZ Top blues rock style. But it did have that classic Jethro Tull sound. A song for Jeffrey is a blues rocker that does have some like harmonic in it. And kind of reminded me of like, maybe like some of those like early Led Zeppelin, those like blues songs. So this is an underrated album. I recommend it if you've never listened to it. Coming in at number 8 is Minstrel in the Gallery from 1975. This album has a lot of variety on it, maybe similar to like the Aqualung album. It has a mix of acoustic rock and hard rock. The title track with the album opener that has some acoustic rock on it, but also some really like heavy guitar sounds on it. The album also has like a very progressive rock sound, similar to albums like A Passion Play and Thick as a Brick. There are also some metal songs like Baker Street Muse and other like folk rock and progressive rock songs on this album. At number 7, I have A Passion Play from 1973. This is, I guess I would call their proggiest album. Has a sound close to like early Genesis or Yes, even King Crimson. Memory Bank, it's a standout on the album, has like progressive rock keyboards. Critique Oblique has a sound that reminds me of like King Crimson, as I mentioned. Lots of tempo changes and a slightly like heavier progressive rock sound. This is a concept album and about a recently deceased man in the afterlife. Coming in at number 6 is War Child from 1974. This album has 2 songs that were, hits, Skating Away on the Thin Ice of a New Day and Bungle in the Jungle. This album also has a progressive rock sound. The album is a blend of acoustic rock, hard rock, and progressive rock. Another good song is The Third Hurrah. It has a very progressive rock sound filled with Ian Anderson's flute and some keyboards. So this is a very good album. At number 5, I have Thick as a Brick. This is a concept album. They did it in a way kind of poked fun at some like progressive rock albums of the time. Having one song on one side and one long song on the other side. The original album was a gatefold with a 12-page newspaper inside. This is their first progressive rock album filled with lots of like time signature changes, mixing classical music, folk rock, and hard rock. At number 4, I have Benefit from 1970. I think this is a very underrated album. There were different versions, the US and UK releases. I like the US version. It does have one of my favorite songs, Teacher. I think that's like one of the like heavier songs. Also has A Witch's Promise. That was like an extra track. I think that was released on later editions. One of my other favorite songs is To Cry You a Song. Very catchy riff, a slightly harder sound. That's a very underrated song. I recommend that you look it up. Another good song, Saw City, You're a Woman. That's like an acoustic folk rock sound. And this is just an album I enjoy. I listen to this album a lot. At number 3, I have Songs from the Wood. This was released in 1977, part of that rock trilogy I was talking about previously. Title track is a folk rock sound to it, really great. Ring Out Solstice Bells, it's a Christmas song. They re-recorded that for the Christmas album in 2003. This one has The Whistler. That's another one of my favorite songs. It's just an acoustic folk rock song. It has Pip Rock, Cap in Hand. A longer song, a little more of like a proggier, classic hard rock type of song. So this is a solid album all the way through, and that's why I have it at number 3. At number 2 is Stand Up from 1969. Now this has some of the most popular songs that they like to play live. It has the classical music piece, Bourrée, I believe it's pronounced. A New Day Yesterday. It's a blues rock song. Nothing is Easy. It has a classic style, cool guitar riffs, and a signature flute sound. And it has Fat Man. I like the drum beat on that one, and I think they're playing a mandolin, maybe, I'm not really sure about that. But this is a really good album. It's like blues rock, but it's a solid album. I really love this. I listen to this one often as well. My number 1 shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. It's Aqualung. Came out in 1971. I had this album when I was very young. Jethro Tull was one of the first rock bands I ever listened to. I guess you can call it one of the heaviest albums. You know, the title track, Cross-Eyed Mary, those have been covered by metal bands. But the album has lots of acoustic songs like Wondering Aloud. I do have a full review of this album when it celebrated its 50th anniversary. I will link that in the end card. And that is it. So that's the end of my ranking. Okay, thanks for watching. As I mentioned during the video, I did 2 full reviews for 2 of the albums. One is the Zealot Gene, and the other one is for Aqualung. If you are interested, they will be linked right over there. So please click on the one that you prefer to watch. Thanks for watching, and I will be back soon with another video. Thank you.